Well, hello and welcome to our very unusual 2020 AGM. Shall we begin with a short prayer? Father in heaven, bless us as we gather today for our AGM. As we reflect on the past year, give us vision for the year to come and the work you're calling each one of us to do. We trust in your unfailing love and look to you to steer our course. Give us wisdom and joy in equal measure as we serve in the ministry of CMJ. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen. Well, it's been a strange year, hasn't it? A year of firsts for many of us in so many ways. And of course, this is our first AGM online. And who would have thought 2020 would be quite as different as it has turned out to be? Before we begin the AGM proper, I'm going to hand over to John to tell us a little about how we're going to use Zoom during this AGM. John.
Hi everyone, thanks for your patience on all that we've been sending out to you. Please bear with me, I'm just clicking in people still trying to join the event. So yes, we'll be muting and unmuting speakers. Obviously Wendy will be speaking, Phil Harris will be speaking, and Daryl will be speaking to us, and we'll use the chat facility that I see some of you have already started using as well. So if you have a mobile phone, you might want to mute it so that it doesn't interrupt proceedings. And we will be sharing the screen shortly with the full agenda, so you'll be able to see where we are in the meeting. This is our first time using the polling facility, and if you're not familiar with that, I'll just talk you through what it'll do. On your bottom menu bar where you've got the mute, stop video, etc. Once I load it up, you will see there will be a new button loaded that will be for the poll. So I'll launch the poll now and you see it there. And we'll be then able to vote through the various aspects. On that screen where it shows the poll, in the top right hand side there's a cross, a square and a dash. If you click the dash on your screens, that will minimize that poll until we get to that part in the agenda. So you might want to do that now, and that should have taken it off your screen, and it now sits on your bottom menu. So you will have mute, stop video, participants, and now a new little picture showing the poll before chat. So hopefully that was successful at your end, but each time we come to a poll, I will talk to you about that part of it, so you don't need to remember anything. It's new to us all, so please don't be concerned about it. We're hoping it's going to work for us all. We've never tried it before, so it's a whole new territory. At the very end of the process of our meeting, we will be submitting the poll, and that's when we'll know the results of all the questions that have been asked, and we'll share that with you towards the end of the meeting. So hopefully that's all the housekeeping rules, and if you're interested in following some of our other events, you're welcome to be part of those, and I'll give perhaps details about those in the AOB at the end. But it's great to see people from India, the north of Scotland, the south of England and the Midlands. Some of the people that are in lockdown have joined us. So can I just say how great it is to see such a vast crowd of people for our AGM. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, John. If we could go to item 3 on our agenda then, apologies for absence. I believe we do have some, John.
We do, and hopefully you'll be now seeing the AGM papers on the screen. And if I click that, bear with me. As ever, whenever you want these things to start, they don't always follow on. There we go. So hopefully you will have our agenda there, and there's the list of apologies. So we've had a number of apologies, and we're thankful for people that have notified us that they would have been with us, but for various circumstances cannot. So if there are any others, perhaps you can enter those in the chat, and it'll be recorded on the actual system. So that's great.
Thank you, John.
Monday.
So item 4 then, the minutes of the AGM 2019 have been posted on the CMJ UK website for quite a while now. So I do hope you've taken the opportunity to read them and forward any comments or what you think may be errors or omissions, etc. to John. And in the light of that, I don't think we've had anything at all, have we, John?
No.
No, okay. So I'd like then to present those minutes to you and ask if someone would like to propose that we accept them. And we need a second for that.
I'm happy to. Alison.
Alison to propose or second? I'm sorry, I can't see everyone on my screen. So.
Well, I can only unmute myself, and I didn't know you'd got someone for proposer, but I'm happy to do either propose or second.
Well, yours was the first voice I heard, Alison. So
Okay,
Alison proposes. Who would like to second those minutes?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you. And can I now ask if, I'm sorry, I've lost my place on here. Right, I would like to, right, thank you. And so those minutes have been proposed and seconded. Can we accept those minutes as a true copy of the minutes of the Vincent Society AGM 2019?
Yes.
So if everybody clicks poll, if you click poll button on the bottom of your screens, you should therefore have a poll in front of you asking you, are the minutes of the meeting accepted as a true and fair view? And there are three options, yes, no, and abstain. And if you click the one that's relevant to your view, that would be great. We realise there's some deficiencies here because some of you are multiple people watching and there's only one option to vote. But if we get a general feel of how people are happy to approve it, that would just be great for us. So if you've clicked, just go along to your menu bar. It starts on the left with mute, then video, participants, and then the poll button. Just click on that and the poll should be on screen. And question 1 is, are the minutes accepted? So yes, Ralph, I can see you struggling with that. So if you go along the bottom bar, you should have a mute option, a stop video, participants, and then poll. And click on the poll and you should have the poll in front of you. Hopefully that will work for most people. So sorry, Jackie, you can't vote as well as Ben. So choose which one of you wishes to vote. And we'll go with that, or if you can agree a decision, that would be great. Just a slight division. You
would need to use a separate device for each person in order to have a separate vote.
So I can see people have voted. We've had 4 of you vote so far. If the rest of you can follow on.
Do we submit on the right button?
No. I just needed you to just do that one question. So some of you must have voted for all of the other items and submitted. We'll get to those bits. It's nice of you to be so keen to finish the meeting. Okay, Wendy.
Okay, thank you. Can we continue? That would be great. Right. And are there any matters arising from those minutes? No? Okay. In that case, I'd like to move on to item 5, which is the Chairman's remarks and the Trustees' report. And I'd just like to say something before we look at the finances on our Trustees' report for last year. The report has been posted on the website for some time now, and you'll all have received electronic copies of that report emailed to you last Saturday. So you'll all be aware, I'm sure, of our activities for the last year. Our 3 E's, evangelism, education and encouragement, were fulfilled in lots of exciting ways, with success in outreach, thanks to our community-based evangelists, an increase in Bible Comes to Life engagements and deputations, and that opened up a lot of new opportunities. And we had continued work on research into how we might effectively support the Messianic Jewish community in the UK. We hope to develop that in the coming year, and we have plans going forward that we'll report to you probably through news and views and perhaps in other ways through 2021. The trustees are very grateful for the way our staff continue to serve with passion and commitment in the work they've been called to do. And I'm personally thankful for the commitment and the drive of our trustees, whose wise counsel and broad experience I've appreciated enormously in this past year. The Lord blessed our ministry in 2019, and through your generous giving and some large legacies, which Phil Harris will talk to you about shortly, we intended to address succession planning this year. I think I spoke to you briefly last year about this. We met as a team, both staff and trustees, in February 2020 with the intention of starting that process. And we had the opportunity to do some blue sky thinking, to use an old cliche, about how we might develop and move the society forward, growing the work here. And oh, how we dreamed. And you can hear a but coming, can't you? By the end of March, of course, we were in lockdown, and the pandemic that we have faced for some months now has been a challenge for all of us in many ways. And this has been especially so for many ministries like ours, whose work calls them to close and continuous interaction with others, building relationships in order to bring God's word to their communities. Even so, CMJ has experienced God's provision for such a time as this. And before we'd even begun to suspect that this would be a difficult year, it was the Lord who provided in 2019, and he knew our needs long before we even suspected the difficulties ahead. As the old Yiddish saying goes, de Mensch tracht und Gott lacht, or as Proverbs 16 tells us, a man's heart plans his course, but it's the Lord who determines his steps. We're very grateful that the Lord does indeed determine our steps, and we've seen once again how God has blessed us, provided for us and kept us alive to reach this season. Not with manna from heaven, but through his people, through you. Your generosity is in both prayer and finance enabled so much in 2019. We still need to do that succession planning, of course, and that's now something we have to turn our attention to with urgency for the coming year, because we must continue to reach the churches in this country. We must continue to support and nurture the Messianic community here. The UK Jewish community needs their Messiah. Jewish people are still dying without knowing his saving grace and the peace he brings. So thank you for enabling that work to continue. Despite the restrictions we find ourselves having to negotiate, our staff have been busy though. We've made every effort to ensure plans haven't been thwarted by restrictions on social interaction and travel. And some things, of course, have had to be postponed until such time it's safe to pick up the threads once again. But new opportunities have emerged. Online deputations have taken place. Our prayer meetings have gone digital, as have the monthly lectures, and both are extremely well attended. And this is, of course, a fantastic opportunity for each one of us to invite others who might not be local to either us or to our head office. And I'd encourage you to invite your friends, your neighbours, your fellow church members to join in and become involved and get to know more about CMJ. Through a quick link of the mouse, we are now able to meet CMJ staff from around the world. And that's quite an exciting thing. And it's another way in which we can develop and grow our reach to others, stirring up interest and involvement and growing our membership and our prayer support. And many hundreds of conferences were cancelled this year, here in the UK and around the world, and others were postponed. And I know that many of us missed out on meeting up with old friends and making new ones at Swanwick. But my particular thanks must go to John and Carol Brooks, who made absolutely certain that come what may, we had a conference this year. And it was a huge technical and organisational task, steep learning curve, taken on effectively and I think enthusiastically, for which we're all grateful. Social media and web developments continue apace, and thanks to Philippa, our social media manager, month by month engagement on our website, Facebook page and YouTube channel is growing. The efficiency and effectiveness of Philippa's input has been extremely fruitful and vital too to our development of a lower age profile, encouraging youth and young families to engage with us through this media. Bible Comes to Life, of course, has taken something of a back seat in the last few months. However, even here, we're planning short digital presentations to be used by schools, for example, to enable the work to continue in other imaginative ways. Physical presentation may not always be possible in the future, and we hear a lot about the new normal that we have to get used to. So we're really trying to push this front in terms of digital presentation. Also on the youth front, we're exploring ways to work with Youth for Christ, expanding our youth work in partnership with an organisation that has over 70 local ministry settings across Britain and resourcing over 1,000 churches. Now this will see our reach widen considerably, and it's a huge opportunity for us to reach a wider youth audience. We would love to grow our youth conference to offer that special something to many, many more young people that I believe only CMJ can give. And that's a balanced and informed teaching on God's purposes for Israel and her people. The importance of that and how they, as young Christians, can make a difference. And we're really excited for the future of this project. So please do pray for wisdom as we consider the path this venture will take. In response to the Church of England Jewish-Christian Relations publication, God's Unfailing Word, all 144 pages of it, our CEO, Alex Jacob, has produced a study guide and 6 complementary teaching sessions, and that'll be available soon on the website. And we hope that this resource will prove not just useful to our members, but in particular to theological colleges and churches, as we endeavour to bring about a much needed change in both perspective and training to clergy, with the challenge to re-examine the scriptures and think again about God's purposes for Israel and her people, and how we can play a part in that. We continue to work in partnership with CMJ Israel, working in close cooperation with their new CEO, the Reverend Canon Darrell Fenton, who's with us today and will be speaking shortly. And this partnership is flourishing, and blessings are flowing in each direction as we seek a way forward. And that's particularly important in such challenging times. This year, we witnessed the promotion to glory of our dear sister, Linda Cohen. And that was an extremely sad time for us here at CMJ, and I'm sure for many of you too. We had a particularly strong bond with Linda. And we, as others around the world who worked with her, will certainly miss her warmth, her graciousness, her sense of humour, and her feisty and passionate commitment to Israel and the work of CMJ. And may her memory be for a blessing. Last year, I spoke of the legal security of our properties in Israel, which has been of huge concern. I have to report to you that this issue hasn't yet been resolved, in no small part due to the pandemic. Office closures in Israel have slowed most presses to a snail's pace, as if it wasn't slow enough already. However, we continue to work with the Israel Board in progressing this as fast as the Israeli government departments will allow. And we hope to have some news fairly soon with issues that were problematic, but now seem not to be, and are being dealt with as we speak. And prospects are looking brighter for a resolution to this issue in the near future. Internationally, exciting times are ahead for further outreach, and Poland is on the horizon, scheduled for next year, and subject to some sense of normality, of course, for operations here and in Israel and other countries. And plans are already underway to resurrect an evangelistic work in Poland. This will be a multinational effort with contributions from several CMJs worldwide, and is being led by Darrell in Israel. And of course, we are stronger and much more efficient in our labours when we work together for the ministry we share. Daryl, as I said, will speak to you shortly about Israel. But during Chairman's remarks, I did want to bring you a concern that I have that I'd like to revisit. If you're a regular reader of the annual finance report, you will know that each year CMJ UK gives a third of its live income to CMJ Israel. Now, this is done whether or not we meet our own financial needs here in the UK. How do we do that? Well, we dip into our reserves to meet our own bills rather than use that live income we've promised to Israel. Why am I telling you this? Well, because this year I heard for the first time that someone, and I've no idea who that is, had mentioned to one of our trustees that they feel CMJ UK doesn't do enough to support Israel. And this saddens me greatly, because the legacies, the gifts, the standing orders for regular giving we have received this past year have enabled us not only to support the ongoing work of CMJ UK through this difficult time, but also to support CMJ Israel too. Giving a third of our live income is not the end though, and when Phil speaks to us shortly, he'll expand on that. Supporting Israel is a high priority for us, and that's as it should be. And let me reassure you, it could be no other way. And we couldn't do this, of course, without you, our supporters. When you give to and through the UK, we're also able to add, where possible, with your permission, an extra 25% through gift aid to the donation, which increases your support to them and to us. The Lord uses each one of us who gives, whether that's through leaving a legacy in your will, supporting us through a monthly standing order, or maybe finding yourselves blessed financially and blessing our work as the Lord prompts. And for this, we are truly thankful. You have made it possible for the work to continue to develop and grow, and in turn nurture and disciple Jewish believers in Jesus. This year's been a difficult one to negotiate as a mission society, and we won't be alone as a Christian charity in feeling the effects of this pandemic for some time to come. But the Lord has sustained us through your generosity so that our work can continue. It is He who has prompted you to give, and you have responded to that. We have no idea what's ahead, but we trust in the Lord and His faithfulness. So please do join us this year in praying that all we have planned for 2021 will come to fruition. Pray that the Lord will guide our footsteps in this ministry, and bless you for your ongoing support in both prayer and finance, and your faithfulness to the calling of CMJ. Thank you. I'd like to hand over now to Phil to give a short presentation on our annual report and financial statement. Phil.
Thanks, Wendy. Really appreciate that. I trust people are getting a real flavour for the sense with the trustees of the goodness of God this year. And this finance report really, I believe, demonstrates that, although it's quite strange because we're in October 2020 and we're now actually bringing to you the figures for 2019. But I just might actually towards the end just highlight a little bit of where we are now. So someone actually said some time ago when I became involved with charities that alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. And the testimony of the report I'm about to bring you now is of the goodness of God and of your faithful giving, of which we are grateful for. Now, you should all have received a summary that came through on email, so you will have that with you. But I just want to speak here now to some overalls and some headlines as to where we are. So, John, if we can move on to the overall side, thank you. So, in 2018, we ended with a deficit of £75,000. In 2019, however, we actually ended up with a surplus of £218,000, and we therefore saw a swing of £293,000. And you'll see there that the income has come in, and our operating expenditure has more or less stayed consistent. It was 30,000 or 29,000 pounds different. So that's the overall position, that we were £218,000 up, and I can hear people's excitement from here. However, it's the wonders of technology, isn't it? Let's just look at some of the headlines that we have for income to see where that swing came from. So donations, that's churches and individuals, that was actually down 6%, and it was a 5% drop on 2018. However, appeals were up 52%. And so the 14,661 that was up more or less cancelled out the shortfall on donations. Some £2,000 plus pounds, close to £3,000, £2,800 difference there. But then we come to legacies. Alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. And we actually received in the year of 2019 £368,000 worth of legacies, and that we are just so grateful for. And you will see something of that as I go through these next few slides. And we're really grateful to people who have looked at their position and looked at their estate and felt that they could contribute to CMJ. So 368,000 of legacies. The generous soul will be made rich. Just on a side note, restricted gifts, that those are those gifts that are restricted for a specific purpose. We're down 59% on, so 32,000 down. We've just maybe, you can see some further details of that in the summary statement, so I won't spend too much time there. But if we could then go to the expenditure headlines. So that was income. Expenditure, we maintained spend on evangelism and youth. And Wendy talked really quite concisely and encouragingly about us changing the demographic of CMJ, and younger and fresh people coming in and to CMJ and making contact and journeying with CMJ. And so we maintained our spend on evangelism and youth, and we increased our expenditure by 30,000 as we invested in social media, website, etc. And if you remember on the summary slide, there was a £29,000 difference in terms of spend. Well, there's roughly at the £30,000 that we actually have there. I do want to highlight, however, in line with what Wendy was saying, that the CMJ UK gift to Israel did drop by 22%, reflecting reduced donations budgeted for CMJ UK, but it still remained at 50% of our planned deficit for the year. So John, if we can just continue on the theme of Israel. Now, our annual review, as Wendy commented, remains in place to bless Israel out of our actual donations, but we do speak into the story in Israel in other ways. And that's through non-financial support in terms of printing CMJ Israel news and views, by having staff at the spring fair, and also Alex speaking at Christchurch when he is in Israel. But I also do want to speak into this as well. You'll remember we had a deficit in 2019 of just over 200,000. Because of that deficit, we've been able to loan Israel £200,000 towards building renovations and work at the Christchurch compound. And so I think the way that we've leaned in there and been able to do that is directly because of your faithfulness in terms of giving. And I'm just reminded of those words in Genesis: I will bless those who bless you, and because we have been blessed, we've been able to support Israel with that £200,000 loan. That moves us on to our reserves. We mentioned that 218 that we were able to add into reserves, that we've also now been able to pass on in the main to CMJ Israel in the form of a loan. And that leaves our total reserves at 1.8 million. But it is worthwhile bearing in mind that 50% of those reserves are not available to spend. So as we pause for a second there, and I'm mindful of the little word that crops up in the Psalm, Selah, pause and think on these things, or pause and reflect on these things, we're able to recognize the goodness of God, and that to him who is able to do abundantly above all that we could ask or think. And when we actually looked at a deficit budget in 2019 of over £200,000, there has been a swing the opposite way. And we are so thankful for the giving, because through you, we have been able to contribute so much. But he who works through us is able to do far more abundantly above all that we can ask or think. So on that concept of that knowledge of blessing, your giving has continued to be our blessing. And if we look at the next slide here, we actually have donations, both one and regular gifts. We have people joining in our autumn, spring appeals. We have membership subscriptions. We have 864 new followers. That's 72% up on Facebook and on social media and Instagram. And we're so grateful for that, for the volunteers and church reps, that people, that it's not just monetary, but it's actually people contributing in terms of being volunteers and church reps. And also, we want to thank you so much for your prayers and for praying for this ministry. So your giving has continued to be our blessing, and we are so thankful for that. Just some reminders, if I can. Making a gift of greater than £30 does not make you a member. So please tell us if you want your gift to cover your £30 membership, or whether you want to set up a standing order for your membership. If we can then continue there, John. Out of everything that I've presented to you and the money that we've received, it represents thousands of donations via our bank accounts and online, and the payment of hundreds of invoices. And all of this work has fallen on Alan to process transactions, and to Marie to receipt those donations. And so we just want to say thank you both for your contribution to CMJ and the work that you have actually carried out on our behalf. And also for me personally, I just want to thank the person that's operating this slide now in terms of John, because in my role as portfolio for finance, I could not do this if it wasn't for John. And so thank you, John, so much for all that you have contributed as well to the finances of CMJ. So I'm sure I can take everybody's thanks here that are in this meeting, just to thank all three of you for that work. And just really a reminder that the world of the generous does get larger and larger. And I think, John, that's on the bottom of that slide. The world of the generous does get larger and larger. So it's not just thank you both, it's thank all three of you, but from me and from the rest of the trustees, to thank all of you for your faithful giving that has left us in such a position that we can actually see a way forward. And I will just give a little bit of a teaser. If we continue the way we are for the next couple of months, our financial position is going to maintain as a status quo through 2020. And so we just are so grateful to God and to every single one of you that supports this great work as we try and reach out to Jewish people. So thank you so much. We do have questions, but nobody sent any questions in. So I think that's pretty well us done. So it's John now really to ask us, does the meeting approve can the trustees report and annual accounts be approved by the meeting? Let's get the wording correct. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. So it's just back to the poll. So if you go to your bottom bar, you should have that option. Helen's indicating on some of your screens it comes up in a different position. Thanks, Helen. So you should have along your bottom bar your muting, your microphone, your video, participants, and between participants and chat should be an icon for poll. If you click on that, we get question 2 coming up, as well as question 1. And if you do that, if you click on yes, no, or abstain, and once we get to the very end, when we've done the 3rd question, we will submit that. And I can see that's causing some concerns. Are you okay there, Margaret? I can see you were concentrating quite. I've got a smile from Margaret, so I know I'm all right now then.
John, just to make some people aware, depending on what platform you're running, it might have actually have taken out the tick out of question 1 when you reopen it. So when you get to the end, you will just need to, remember what you'd actually said to all the questions. If I've explained that well enough.
Okay, so hopefully that's you've managed to be able to find an answer you agree with, to either accept, not accept, or abstain, and we'll be submitting them after the last question. So if you just minimize that box, and we'll be able to carry on our agenda going forwards, and be able to pick up on those parts of our meeting. So our next item is the appointment of the independent examiner. Over to you, Wendy.
Okay, so I just need to ask our attendees at this AGM, does the meeting seek to reappoint Bostock White as our independent examiners and auditors? And then once you've ticked on that particular polling box, you should have 3 boxes ticked. One for the minutes of the meeting of 19th of July 2019, accepting the trustees' report and annual accounts or not, or abstaining, and then the one at the bottom for Bostock White as our independent examiners. Once you've completed that and those 3 boxes, I think then we could click submit then, John.
You certainly can, and I can see many of you are doing that. So I do appreciate your participation and this steep learning curve that we're all on using poll on Zoom. I have to say it's completely new to me, and I can see some of you are far more successful at it than I've been. So there you go.
That's great, thank you. Just let me know when we're done, John.
It's looking as though the results are final. So if there's any last minute changes, I'll close the polling and I'll share the results.
John?
You should now be seeing that on your screens, that you all accepted the minutes. The trustees' report and accounts were accepted, and the independent examiners were reappointed. So we are most grateful for your participation in that and learning a new skill of using polling on Zoom. Your churches will be so impressed when you be able to tell them you know how to do polling as well on Zoom. Thank you very much for your participation today.
Thank you, John. So item 8 then, we come to the election to council of our trustees. Before we come to any changes in our Board of Trustees, I do want to say a few words about those who are stepping down this year. Ralph Goldenberg will not be standing again due to health reasons, and many of you will know that Ralph suffered a heart attack quite some time ago now, but he has decided that due to his health issues and the travelling that's involved, he will be stepping down. Alison Marchant doesn't recognise the word retirement, so all I can say is that due to an increasingly busy schedule with lots of other things to do with Jewish ministry, Alison has also decided not to stand for election this time. And to them both, I offer my personal thanks and the thanks of those of the trustees and the staff of CMJ UK. And all I can say is, Alison and Ralph, bless you for your faithful service, for your wisdom and your patience and your godly counsel over the years. I and many others have been extremely grateful for the time and the effort you have given to the work of CMJ, both here and in Israel. And we know that you'll both continue to uphold the ministry in prayer and in practice where you can. And we thank you for your loyalty and faithfulness to the work as you continue to be a voice for CMJ and all that that stands for. So bless you both and thank you. And I think we could all, at least they can see us clapping, even if we're all on mute. So thank you. Thank you. So then, with 2 of our faithful servants stepping down this year and 3 trustees' terms of office ending this year, there are 5 places available. And the trustees whose 3-year term has ended are Joy Sims, Rosa Blanford and Phil Harris. All, I'm grateful to say, are willing to serve as trustees for another term. And in addition, we have 2 new nominations, and that's Alison Davis and the Reverend Tim Butlin. So with 5 standing and with 5 places on the board, all nominees are duly appointed without election. So welcome, Alison and Tim. It's good to have you with us. And welcome back, Joy, Rosa and Phil. Thank you. I shall now hand over to Daryl Fenton, who's going to give us an update on CMJ Israel. And I'm sure that you've all been concerned about Israel, the work in Israel is faring during this time. So Daryl's going to speak to us now. Daryl.
Good afternoon, everyone. There we are. I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege first, based really on Wendy's report. I want you all to understand how grateful all of us are here for the UK support. I don't think you actually understand how much we appreciate your prayers, which we know are extraordinarily faithful. Most of you would not be aware of the personal support that both Alex and John and Robin give to me and to others of us here. The £200,000 loan this year has made it possible for us to do a job in Alexander that has been needed for, well, most of you who've been here know has been needed for at least 40 years. So whoever complained, Wendy, would you please tell them I corrected them?
I will. Thank you, Daryl.
I think the friendship and the partnership, and looking forward to Poland next year, our partnership together there is an extraordinary opportunity to keep demonstrating that the CMJ is about the business it was called to do 210 years ago, and maybe now it's 211, and we're not stopping. No, we're not breaking ranks, and we intend to get to the goal so that when the Lord comes, all of those he's called to himself from among his own people are there to greet him. So anyway. The second thing I want to say is I certainly hope that the conference this year is live, because despite my accent, I'm really homesick for England. So, but for those of you who don't know, Sandy and our family lived a decade in West Berkshire, and so we're suffering just a bit from not quite enough England. Okay, as regards to what I need to say to you, all by way of report, you'll have seen by now the brief financial statement and comments I made. No one sent questions, and I'm not going to try to review those numbers in front of you tonight. Time is short, afternoon. But any of you who have questions, feel free to write me. My email is director@cmj-israel.org, and I'll respond within a day or two. Often some of those questions are easier to answer privately. What I think is important for you to know is we finished 2019 as a banner year, but of course we don't expect to see another one till about 2023 or 2024. So had we not had the reserves that were available at the end of 2019, we would have had to take even harsher measures in our guest houses. They would all be mothballed now. And only the church and the Mercy Fund would still be running. So because we had those reserves, we were able to keep a skeleton crew at Christ Church in Jerusalem. We were able to do a number of new things, which I'll talk about in a moment, like communications and the Alexander Project. And between lockdowns, we just finished our second lockdown. We began to reach out for business as well as opportunity to the Israeli community, and saw a remarkable amount of response. So as regards that, I think what the Lord has shown us in this difficult time is that there's more opportunity, frankly, to have Israelis stay with us and also hear the gospel from us than perhaps we had taken into account when everything was heaving with folks from the outside. Don't misunderstand, we're not reducing our support for CMJ Shoresh tours that come here, but we are going to much more aggressively reach out to Israelis who live in the land. So to that end, a couple of the new things that have happened, you're all aware, I think, that probably our communications efforts have gone up. We have finally got an infrastructure in place to stay in touch with those who care about us. Our database in the last 6 months has grown from 1,000 to 10,000. Probably more importantly, we realized that we have a wealth of resources to be shared that should be used by our partners around the world, and so we've tried to make those more and more available. Many of you will have seen the video trio that Aaron did for the Days of Awe and Sukkot, just to give you an idea of how different this approach is than some we've taken in the past. Since then, we've had over 300,000 views on those 3 videos. I think that's a record for us for all time. And it means, of course, that many, many, many more people in all the countries where CMJ exists know of us and recognize that we're very much in business. If I could have, I would have shared with you some before and after pictures of Alexander. You can imagine what it's like tearing up all the floors, taking out all the pipes that are in the floor, replacing all the pipes that are in the floor, and putting the floors back down. That's the first half of the job. All the electrics will be changed, and then we're putting a brand new hot water, much more efficient hot water heat exchanger on the roof. So you'll not only have a hot shower, you'll have a shower with water pressure if you stay in Alexander. I know that sounds like a miraculous potential, but Lord willing, it will be true in time for Pesach this year. So frankly, we don't expect to see new business in Pesach. We think it will probably be to Sukkot before our tourist business, our shortish tour business returns. But that really leads to my single largest prayer request for all of you. And that's that as we turn the corner on the worst part of COVID here, and we pray we'll not have a third lockdown, we expect to have the guest houses reopen by the end of November. And we're making some real changes in our outreach to Israelis. Thanks to Robin and the Lance Lambert Foundation, we have just launched Hebrew language social media, and it will be followed shortly by a Hebrew language website that's featuring our coffee shop and our coffee shops and our heritage centers, which is a sort of natural combination for Israelis who are looking to see where they're going to go for their weekend. In addition, in several other areas, at least in Christchurch right now, we've had some time and some people available. We only really have 6 of our staff who aren't on furlough right now. One chef will come back in November because we'll have people serve food to again. The coffee shop is open only for takeaway. So you can imagine how much business isn't happening. We did have business through the summer in both of the 2 guest houses in the Galilee and in Tel Aviv. So they've been managing to survive with a little help from us. Shoresh, of course, is shut down, and we've used the folk there to strengthen some of our other work, building databases and doing communications and a few other things like that. But we need your prayers that the efforts to reach out to the Israeli community, to come as guests, to come for coffee, to come see heritage centers, that there'll be a really sizable response to that, because it means we can take our historic mission forward far more rapidly. I mean, what better combination can be than when people come and pay you to hear the gospel? What could be better? So I think really that's the strongest point to make, in addition to my hearty thanks for making the £200,000 loan available. We expect to be able to earn it back before too long through outreach and through some extra fundraising. But being able to do this now when we didn't have to shut down for customers who wanted to come to stay at the guest house is just a great blessing, and we can do it, relatively speaking, in quiet. One other little side note, we've determined here at Christchurch, I'm currently serving as the Christchurch guest house manager as well as the director for CMJ Israel. Paul and Karen Dilcher had to go home for a couple of family emergencies. That mind is pretty quiet here now. So we've been having some compound design and refurbishment prayer meetings and conversations. And we've determined that because Israelis go looking for experiences, the Christchurch compound is going to try to recapture its just before mandate authenticity. So by the time you next come, we will probably have tea and scones, among other things. But we're trying to recapture that late Victorian ethos that was so typical of CMJ in those years, because Israelis have plenty of modern and plenty of Israeli, but they don't get much from. We had two couples here actually between lockdowns who said, one of them French, believe it or not, I forget the other one, who said coming to CMJ and staying overnight is like taking a visit abroad. So we decided to make sure everyone who's Israeli who comes here has that kind of experience. If you have any questions, I'd be delighted to answer them, but I think that's probably all of my 10 minutes, and maybe a bit.
Does anyone have any questions for Daryl?
I just ask if you just say something about Rosemary and the school.
Yes, Rosemary and the school. I mean, my goodness. Last year, they had 315 students, and this year they have 295.
That's amazing.
But, of course, it's a much more difficult teaching regime, using the capsules and being online. So teachers are under much stress. Two teachers had to be sent home for R&R. One will probably get back. Our new head of elementary has not been able to get here from the UK. A couple of staff openings we were able to fill with local folk. So I think all of that is good news. They're all still struggling. I mean, there's been an extra burden of a great deal of less than legal pushback from the Interior Department, making it difficult for teachers' visas to be approved. We've made some progress on that lately, but nothing's really going to happen until we probably get to next week or the week after. We have both the Department of Justice and the Department of Foreign Affairs advocating for us with Interior. Interior's been very slow, difficult to get a hold of, and really kind of keeping us at arm's length rather than dealing with the issues that we're trying to solve with them. So you can keep praying about teachers' visas. But overall, I have to say the school is in quite good shape. And the students are doing well. A couple of them are in church here every Sunday, and those students are really quite pleased with their online education, and parents have really high praise for the work that's getting done. Is that what you had in mind, Robin? Or was there something else that that I forgot? Okay.
Daryl?
Yes?
Yeah, I was at Alexander when the last plumbing happened, working in the office.
Mm-hmm.
It was done in the second half of 1980s, and it was horrendous. All the floors up, the ceilings down, etc. So you have my greatest sympathy.
Well, Alison, it's been easier without customers. Strange as that might sound. But,
absolutely.
Does anyone else have any questions for Daryl? No, I can't see any raised hands, which it's difficult scrolling through. Can you see anyone, John?
No.
Okay. Daryl, can I thank you for your report there, just your update on Israel. It's always good to hear, and so thank you for that, and please be assured of our prayers.
I think Rufus has a question.
Oh, Rufus, sorry, I didn't see you.
You didn't see me because I didn't have my hand up because I'd forgotten what I wanted to ask. Isn't that terrible?
Okay.
Daryl, I think it might just be worth reminding people of the service that is either streamed or zoomed out of Christchurch every Sunday, so that if they want to, folk over in this country can join the service from Jerusalem.
In fact, the reason I didn't mention anything at all really about Christchurch and the Mercy Fund, except that they're doing okay, is because they're doing okay. Part of the reason for that is the broadcast that began at the beginning of Holy Week and have continued ever since. They're getting a bit more sophisticated. They occur online live now on YouTube every Sunday night at 6 p.m. So if you grew up like I did, going to evening services, it's not really evening for you, it's 4 p.m. in the afternoon. They will continue to improve. We have been approved for a grant that will allow us to develop an online congregation in Hebrew and an online congregation in Arabic going out into the future. And that will come with essentially a provided studio. We've been approved by the organization. It's called Strategic Resources Group, and their Middle East, they do mostly work in the Middle East. And the person who's our contact person has said that over the next 3 years, we should probably be able to get between 150 and 200,000 US dollars to develop these ministries. That's very specific ministry. It all is online. They don't do anything for anything except online work. The Arabic broadcast will probably be a regional Arabic broadcast. Of course, the Hebrew broadcast will largely be a online broadcast inside of Israel, but both will give opportunity to develop congregations of people who have Arabic and Hebrew speaking pastors online. And that inside Israel especially, that means Jewish people in Orthodox situations can ask questions about Jesus and have them answered. So do tune in. What you'll get, of course, is David most of the time preaching, Aaron and I occasionally. And if you get it, you're certainly welcome to be with us every evening, every Sunday evening at 6 p.m. By the way, thank you as well for all of you who give extra to the Mercy Fund. We are doing more and more outreach, both in the neighborhood here and across the country through what's coming in through you and others around the globe. So thanks so much.
Anyone else?
Yes, please.
Oh, please, Anne, go ahead.
When I was younger, I went on 3 wonderful tours, Shoresh tours, and also recently, I seem to have missed news on Pedro and Anu, and they had problems with their son having a residential permit quite a while ago. And, you know, I'd love to hear more about Pedro and Anu and all at Beta Manual. And also, how are Don and Caroline, please? Because I haven't heard recently about them.
Okay, Don and Caroline and I spoke about 2 or 3 weeks ago. They were offering me their sympathy. They're doing well, thank you. And Pedro and Anu are fine. Both boys are settled with visas. Their, I forget, youngest or oldest just got back about a month ago from doing his military service in Finland and is now in Edinburgh studying at university there. The other son is working in the emergency services in Tel Aviv. So now, right now, Beta Manual is completely shut down because we can't do any guest house work until we can reopen all 3 guest houses at the end of November with certain regulations. So.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, sorry, Aberdeen. You're right. Thank you very much, Cameron.
Loved you all. Thank you.
It was in Aberdeen. That's right.
And Pedro said they have told me yesterday they've got some long-term guests staying at the guest house who've been there the whole time.
That's right. And when we could do events, he had 2 or 3 regular events coming from the hotel next door, cultural events, all of whom asked to be given the lecture at the Heritage Center. So he's actually had a quite productive COVID period. The Lord's not been away at all. We've had quite a lot to keep us busy, but it's been just a very different time. And no one's gotten seriously ill. So.
Praise God for that. That's wonderful.
Wendy.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes, dear.
Sorry, I don't know if it's the right place to raise this. There was talk in recent years about restoration of Beta Manual, and it seems to have gone down below the floorboards again. And I know there was an expensive project, but what was happening? What was Beta Manual, wasn't it, I think?
It was Beta Manual. We had a very large project scheduled. Unfortunately, I really think it's out of reach right now with all the impact of COVID economically. However, Pedro and I met with the structural engineer between lockdowns. I'm not sure exactly what time it was, frankly, but we're going to go ahead as soon as we finish this work here at Christchurch and do the minimum. Well, there's 2 things we need to do. We need to redo the roof, which will open up another room, and we will redo the exterior. A much less aggressive project financially. At least that's the plan right now. The board will have to talk. Our board will have to talk about that in the near future. But those are within reach and easily approvable. And then, as we're able, we'll replan what needs to be done for the rest of the renovation in the interior. So it hasn't been forgotten. It is next to be done. But we're probably going to have to secure the building first before we can look at raising $12 million US dollars to do the rest of the job.
Thank you.
Daryl, can I ask, sorry, Wendy, can I ask Daryl a question?
Of course.
Yeah, Daryl, what's the situation with Bakar at the minute? Obviously they closed down, but...
They closed down. They'll be reopening at the end of the month. They have 4 volunteers there who are helping them. You know, everybody's fixing and cleaning and painting, and you know, our volunteers here as well as theirs, and as well as the ones in Beta Manual. But they will reopen, and I'm confident based on their summer traffic, they'll be seeing more folk coming through because local folks are using Beta Manual. They use it all summer long. So I think both of the other guest houses will do okay with local business. That's the way it looks. We are looking to do some things at Betraka to make perhaps work on establishing a congregation there, and at Beta Manual opening up a garden coffee shop and maybe an additional congregation there. So those are the things that we're thinking about but haven't decided on yet.
Thanks, Daryl.
One other thing I should say, our prayers and our concern here for CMJ UK's work at reaching the churches and the Jewish people of the UK are undiminished. And we stand ready to help in any way we can with our people and our prayers. So just know that partnership goes two ways.
Thank you, Darryl. That's really appreciated. Be assured of our prayers for you too. I know that we've had lots of inquiries locally about, you know, how Israel is doing, and I know that you're in the thoughts and prayers of every one of our supporters. Thank you.
We certainly are feeling those prayers.
Good. Praise God for that. Thank you. Is there any other business at all that anyone would like to raise before we close this meeting? Rufus.
I just want to propose a vote of thanks to you, Wendy, for the work that you have put in leading both the organisation and the trustees during this very difficult period. And I'm sure that in putting this proposal forward, that what I say reflects the views of all of us who are involved with CMJ UK. It has not been an easy period, but you have led us with humour and with determination, and we are in the strong position that we are thanks to the Lord's provision and your guidance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Wish I could hear you all, but you're all on mute. Never mind. Okay, so if there is no other business.
Can I add something?
Yes, do. Sorry. Please, Alison.
I couldn't agree more about Wendy, and I just wanted to give you a thank you to all those who have been bombarded recently about the one remaining event this year, it seems, the festivals and covenants thing that I'm supposed to be doing. I cancelled it a week ago because we only had 4 bookings. The same day I cancelled it, the centre had 5 inquiries. So it's going ahead again. But since then, 2 people have dropped out. So please, could you pray that if it really should go on ahead, the Lord has really got a very strong purpose for it. And